Good morning. Well, welcome to another wonderful episode, Focus in Finance. My name is Shirley Luu. I am your host for today. I wanted to kind of really share with you what's been happening lately. And this episode, I'm going to talk about true stories. Okay? Now, everyone loves story, but these stories are very, very, very true. So here's the situation. So I get a call from one of the folks, I guess, at a church. And they kind of said, hey, the reason I'm calling out is because we're trying to GoFundMe for some members of the church that happens to pass away and didn't have any money. And, so we're just calling around to see what kind of funding can you give or help. So they set up what's called GoFundMe. And the interesting thing about a GoFundMe is that GoFundMe is established when someone needs money for whatever reason. It could be for a health reason, could be, and they can't pay for certain stuff. So they do GoFundMe, and in this case, it was a death situation that happens to have. And it's really sad because the burial cost about $10,000. And so I said to them, I said, wow, I said, so that's including the whole funeral? I said, are you looking at burying them or what happened there? And of course, it was a good person that I happened to know. And they said, no, we're cremating to keep the cost down. But you know what? The reality set into me was the person didn't want to really be cremated. But the family has to do cremation because they couldn't afford the actual burial stuff. So it was like, wow, it kind of hit on me that, even on your final death wish, it was against not what you wanted, but because of financial reason, people couldn't do it. And I reflect back, I said, how many people out there that this happened to? You know what? It happens more than you think. But because of constrained budget or whatever it is, so they had to do that. I feel so strongly. I know a lot of time I talk to you guys about, having a life insurance, having that kind of thing so that you can even die in dignity, and the fact that, you can have something without your family have to worry or running around and worry, well, how are they going to pay for your funeral and expense? Forget about even the rest of the debt and the bill and all the things that's happening that are left behind, countless and countless of other stuff. And I know a lot of us, we love our family, we care for our family, and to me, it's so important that, do we want our family to have that kind of burden? I mean, you can have people saying, well, you know what, that's up to them, I'm dead, who cares what happens, right? The rest of that. But I don't know, I think most of us are not in that mindset. I think most of us, that we don't want our family to struggle. We don't want our family to do the kind of things that they have to struggle. Remember, guys, the important thing is, even when you pass away, it's one thing when you leave your kids for someone else to take care of, as a burden as it is, but imagine if they had to take care of them financially. And I think that's why it brings up the situation, a lot of times kids go into foster home or foster care or some other stuff. It's because there's no means, for a family to be able to take them on. But imagine if you did leave that kind of money and have a family that could have the financial needs and take care of your kids. So it's not just about death, when you're gone, you're gone. It's above and beyond all that. I share that story with you is because it happens today, all the time. And I'm trying to educate folks around the world, in the U.S. and everywhere, to kind of think twice about what you have. So that was a first story. The second story was another friend. A while back, I had mentioned to her that, hey, you really should have something planned for your retirement in the future and all that. But, the kind of life insurance, especially the index IUL that I keep talking about, that, it provides more than that. It provides the living benefit that you can have. So think about this, right? If someone happens to come in while they're healthy, nothing's identified yet, that they've got any health issue and all that. Did you know that the minute they write the account with me, they're protected? If they ever have a heart attack, a stroke, Alzheimer, or they want any issue with their health, the life insurance possibility will become a cash living thing that they could use. So imagine if you have a $200,000 and you only pay $200 a month, and suddenly this happens to you, and then now you've got $200,000 assets in your pocket. That's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about, because we don't know when things could happen to the best of us. And when it does, the question is that Where would that money coming from? Who's going to help us? And having this kind of opportunity to share with the audience out there that, hey, here's what you can do in case if you get sick or get hurt. I'm a big advocate for proponents of having what's called living benefits, because let me tell you, I see it every single day. So this one friend of mine got into a health crisis, and she's sitting there now, trying to GoFundMe, because guess what? The treatment for the medicine and all the other stuff, health insurance only pay part of it. And in some cases, they didn't have health insurance, right? So now you got a huge debt, medical bills. Okay, so my question to her was, at that time, I told you to pay $200, and you could have had $200,000. Now you're faced with a $100,000 bill. I don't get it sometimes, and I know sometimes people say, well, money financially, it could be very, very tough. I think all of us sometimes we just have to take a look at where we are in life. Believe it or not, a lot of folks are spending money in places that shouldn't be. I'll give you an example. Your cable bills. If I were to ask you guys, okay, do you have Netflix? Do you have Hulu? Do you have all these Emma? I mean, it's just amazing to me when I sit down across someone that they do have all these services out there, and sometimes, or even they don't want to review it, they want to look at it. Here's another one. Car insurance, right? Now, I'm in the insurance business, so therefore I'm going to bring up such situations as car insurance. So a lot of folks out there, they buy car insurance, and every young person, old person, doesn't matter who you are, in order to drive, you have car insurance. So now here's a couple of things I'm going to share with you about car insurance that you need to know. So car insurance company gives you a quote. Okay, it's going to cost you $100 a month if your deductible is $500. What that means is that, okay, if you can call boo-boo, whether it's liability or any of that stuff, you have to pay the first $500. And then after that, we start to cover. And then you're sitting there and say, okay, that sounds good. So guess what? You pay, $100 to have $500 deductible. But did you ask them, you said, okay, what about, can I have a little bit higher deductible if I haven't got a lot of boo-boo in the past couple of years and I'm a good driver and all this? Let's raise it up to $1,000. Okay, think about this. So you raise up to $1,000 deductible means if I get in a car boo-boo, I pay $1,000 before they pay the other stuff. Now keep in mind, this is assuming that it's your fault, okay? If it's not your fault, you don't even have to pay that. The other person is liable for it. So then you tell the insurance company, well, if I raise my deductible a little bit higher, what does that look like? Well, you know what? If you did that, it would probably maybe save you $75. Like instead of paying $100 a month, you're paying only $75. So it's $25 saving, right? You're thinking, $25 saving ain't a whole lot, right? But again, every insurance company tells you what that dollar amount is for that deductible. So imagine if I save $25 and in your mind you might thinking, surely it's $25 is nothing at all. But if you take that times 12, right? Think about that. If you say that that's a couple hundred a year, and imagine even in a couple of years, if you never got into any kind of accident, that money that you would have saved probably could have paid for that high deductible to make up for, instead of, $1,000 you're paying. At that point, you pay $1,000 instead of $500, but all that money you saved if you never got into it. So what I'm trying to encourage you to do is take a look at your things. Sometimes it makes sense to have high deductible and other stuff, and it's just the way, you have to look at your personal finance. Where can I cut corner? Where can I do the things to save? I'll give you another example. Medicare. Old people, I shouldn't say old people, senior folks tends to buy what's called Medicare. Well, because, they have Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D, okay? Basically, you get the alphabet when they buy. And prescription. Those are the kind of things. And the other things, there's a lot of company out there today compete for Medicare. So what happens is when insurance company compete for Medicare, they'll come to you. They said, okay, if you get this plan, it's going to cost you $500, $200. If you go to this company, it costs you $400. And it pays for you to really compare the benefit, look at the prescription, look at what does it cover, is it in network, out of network. Let me tell you, there was a story. There was one lady, after I had to compare, do you know the new insurance company saved her $100 a month? Now, to you, it may not sound like a whole lot, $100 a month. But when you take that times 12, that's $1,200. $1,200 saving. And you know what we did with that $1,200 saving? We took that extra $100 saving and turned around, created a life insurance policy for $100,000. Think about it. I just took $100 and able to create $100,000 of protection with living benefit, the heart attack, the stroke, the Alzheimer's, and give her money a chance to grow in the market. In addition to that, have an opportunity, there's money there, cash accumulation, that if she needs it in the future, she can access. See, you're just working smarter, not harder for your money. You're just reshuffling those kind of things. And that's one of the things that I think that people don't always take a look at, and they should, they really should. Things like, another company, in the next episode, I'll talk to you about the new dynamic is how, even your electric bill, I'm not going to go into this one, electric bill, help you save your money, and how does that work, and all these unique kind of things. So, with that being said, I'm just saying that, everything that you have to pay out, take a look, can I do better? Is there a better competitive out there, and can I get the same kind of coverage? In the next episode, I'm going to tell you a story about life insurance comparison, okay? Because this week I couldn't take it. I have five accounts came in and happened to show folks that, hey, look, let's compare the pricing, what you're paying, and see can you get a better value, okay? So like anything else, next episode, I'm going to talk about these comparisons. So hopefully you will tune in. My name is Shirley Luu. You can always reach me at 703-608-1203. Again, 703-608-1203. And you can always Google my name, Shirley Luu, L-U-U, and you will find how to contact me. So until next time, remember, we rise by uplifting others.